Hi, everybody. I'm Terry Murphy, and I am delighted to be your host today for our RISmedia's webinar series. It's great to have you here. Today, we have a really exceptional program because we're going to talk about creating the ultimate team environment in any brokerage. And we've got two superstars that are going to help guide us through that to help discover some of the most amazing strategies and insights to create the most profitable and productive team. We've got Verl Workman, CEO of Workman Success Systems, and Cleve Gaddis, Master Coach with Workman Success and Team Leader. And of course, we're always grateful to have a sponsor, and today's sponsor is Shay Atkins from Homes.com. She's going to be joining us in just a minute. But you know, we always want to get great results from the investment of your time and your energy, and RISmedia has done a great job of providing that edge that we've got. So a couple of housekeeping issues. Throughout the call, we're going to have you muted. And the reason is we want everybody to have a really good call. We want them to be able to hear and to ask questions. And that's, if you'll notice, right on the side, there is a whole questions box. There's a chat. And you can post your questions there throughout the whole call so that we will be sure to get to them. Now, if we don't get to them through the call, we'll get it at the end. But here's an important part. I want you to listen up. You need to stay till the end. We have just an amazing group of great complimentary freebies. I want to call them freebies. They're premiums that Workman Success is offering. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Mr. Cleve said he might throw in a couple extras as well. Is that true, Cleve?
Maybe.
Well, you know, it's always good to have people that are giving us after the call value so that we can figure out what to do after we get all excited about some of the new things you're about to learn. Now, it's always good to have a sponsor, and our sponsor today has generously been there before. It's Homes.com, and Shay Atkins is going to join us to share some of the latest strategies and systems that they have, but platforms that help us convert more leads. And so, Shay, I'd like to welcome you. Say hello.
Hi, Terry. Thank you guys so much for having me here.
Well, we're delighted to have you and so grateful to these sponsors to make these programs possible. So in a nutshell, give us a little bit about what you do and what you're excited about to be here with Homes and what we've got to offer our attendees today.
Absolutely. So I'm an account executive here in Homes.com. So I take care of all the inside sales with realtors and brokers. And I'm also a spokesperson for our webinars. So Homes.com also provides MLS webinars as well as our top secrets webinars, which we hold once a month, where we have top agents come in as guest speakers, talk about marketing, different topics, and things like that. So today I'm going to talk about real quick Homes.com and how we've been helping agents increase their exposure in their markets and how they've been able to target their buyers and sellers as well.
I know. So we've got a couple of slides up to kind of describe a little bit about that. You've got a Simply Smart home search. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's right. So what we're known for is our consumer-friendly site, super easy to use, really big for the millennials right now. So that's the whole shebang, Simply Smarter Home Search. We want the search for consumers to be super easy to not only find their dream home, but as well as to find an agent that is trustworthy for them to work with too.
Okay, and then I was really fascinated about some of the hyper local work you're able to do to qualify leads. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So basically what we do is we brand the agents as a local expert in the zip codes they like to invest into so that they can get those buyers and sellers. Now, when those leads come through, we also pre-qualify for them. And we do that for all inbound leads. So like even if you use realtor.com, Zillow, Facebook, whatever the case may be, we answer those phone calls and emails for you, ask the qualifying questions, and then live transfer them to the agent. So it's like having a virtual personal assistant.
That's a live phone call though, right? I mean, that's a real person answering the phone and then directing it to the agent.
That's exactly right. We have our own team.
That's so amazing. And so tell us a little bit about then it's showing on the slide, the average response time, and then and how is it constructed? Go on to tell us about the local connect.
Sure. So basically, you're advertised as the local expert. A consumer can reach out one of two ways. It will be a direct phone call, and the concierge will just answer that phone call for you. Again, ask those questions and live transfer that person to you. So you never lose out on the opportunity. It's literally like having your own virtual personal assistant. or you'll receive a request lead form, which you get in a real-time text message and email. And again, the concierge will be reaching out to that for you. And we do reach out within less than a minute, which will help you with your conversion rate as well.
Yeah, because we know, and I know that our experts are about to tell us that everybody thinks they want leads, but they don't even handle the leads that they get. And when you do it the fastest and the quickest, that certainly creates a different relationship with that consumer, which is what we're all
Absolutely.
about here. Absolutely. So I know you've got some specials that you're offering for that, and tell us just a little bit about that before we introduce our experts.
Sure thing. So we are doing up to 50% off all of our marketing right now. It's been a hit with realtors across the country. So if you want to check your zip codes, type in check zips and text 484848. I will write this down as well since we have a awesome webinar ahead of us too. So again, it's check zips 484848, and a rep will be reaching out to you eventually.
Well, I'm hoping that is so great and generous of homes.com. Thank you so much. And I hope you'll stick with us because we may have questions or things where you can clarify that maybe Homes can help us with during the course of the call. Would that be all right?
Absolutely. I will be here.
Yes, you have to be here, Shay. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to have you with us. But I'm more excited about what's to come. And it's sort of like when you already know, you're excited for the people who don't know. And as a master coach myself with Workman Success, I have to tell you, I've known Virl a long time and a man who walks his walk. The thing I'm the most proud of is that he's been able to revolutionize an industry in a way that has not been done. And that is through systems and strategies. Entrepreneurs are notorious for having passion and purpose, but they never have the plans and the systems to go underneath that. And he created that as the founder of Workman Success Systems. And he's done a lot of fun things as well along the way, creating processes and bringing collective intellect together with people like Cleve Gaddis, who we are about to meet. I'm really personally proud of him. He's a CSP, that's a certified speaking professional, as a member of the National Speakers Association that puts him in the ranks of people like legends like Ken Blanchard and Brian Tracy and Harvey McKay, who, by the way, says hello, Virl. We talked to him yesterday. But anyway, the point is he's also a great dad. And now, if you can't believe it, at this young age, he is also a granddad of how many, Virl?
Like 10. I quit counting.
As of lunch, it was 10. Okay.
Ask him
we're
again later today.
7 little granddaughters.
They are so beautiful. And it's a great family. And he's married to his best friend forever, Colleen Workman, who should probably get an award of astronomical. She's an amazing woman and a good support for families. So welcome, Virl.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. And I just wanted to keep listening to Shay. Everything she said sounded so sweet. Whatever she's selling, I'm in. And I'm already a fan of homes.com. And so that was when you put, it's like icing on the cake. It's like homes.com's great. And Shay says it, I'm like, okay.
I'm telling you, that Southern accent, it does it every time.
Does it?
That
You already know.
But then we have someone coming on who has an accent from Atlanta, and that would be Cleve Gaddis. Now, one of Virl's major techniques and I would say talents is finding the best of the best and putting them on the team. And he did that when he found Cleve Gaddis. He is a team leader in Atlanta. He has a radio show calling Your Move to Atlanta, and that is News Talk 640 WGST iHeartRadio in Atlanta. He's been a major force in Workman Success Systems, really looking at things, I don't want to say outside of the box, but from such a perspective that it is absolutely not only impressive and remarkable, but it's awesome. He is the father of 4 absolutely not fair, gorgeous model cover girls, 4 daughters, all smart and beautiful, and they like their dad. And he's just kind of the most amazing master coach, and the people that work with him, guaranteed tough love will absolutely improve their productivity. Either that or start drinking heavily, whichever came first. But thanks, Cleve, for joining us.
Maybe both.
But we're excited to be here.
Well, I so appreciate and really value your wisdom so very much. So I want to turn this over to you, because creating ultimate teams today, it's been a tricky and a fast and a not easy transition for either the agents or the brokerage. And I know today you've got some great things to share. So for the next number of minutes, I want you as our listeners join me in taking some great notes and really hear what they're saying. Just suspend judgment for just a little while here and get really into curiosity. So you guys just take it away.
Thanks, Terry. And Cleve, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk for just a minute. Well, first of all, I want to welcome everybody and say thank you for being here. Let's go. You know, I get excited about these things. At about 15 minutes before the top of the hour, I'm ready to start just delivering and sharing content. And I know, Cleve, you feel the same way. We're both pacing. We're like standing here in front of our thing saying we're ready to go. So Tammy, I'm with you. Let's go. A couple of thoughts. For those of you that have never heard us or that are joining us, I would love for you to go into the chat box and just say hello and where you're from. Just say hi. You know, it's Wendy from South Carolina or William from Dade County, or just tell me where you're from and say hello. So we know you know how to use the chat. If you know how to use the chat, then you can ask us questions. You have a couple of people here that are experts on building teams. At Workman Success Systems, that's who we are. We build 7-figure teams and we help people become successful. People want to know what our secret sauce is. I call it the wisdom of the crowd. Terry alluded to that, and that's attracting great people. But imagine being in a room with people who all want to share with everybody else what's working for them and share it with others. And because of that culture of giving, we've created phenomenal systems and processes to help teams and brokers and agents alike become successful with their teams. And so we're really glad that you're here, and we appreciate that. John from Long Island's here. We've got a great group of people from all over the place. It looks like we've got the country's well represented. So when I think about teams, I was talking to somebody just earlier today, Cleve, and she said to me that I really don't know if I should build a team. And I said, why not? And she says, well, I can't let go of anything. I can't delegate. And I said, and you know, I don't know why this came to me, but I said, what if your doctor felt the same way?
Is this her picture right here on the screen?
Yeah,
is that her?
Sure.
Yeah, it looks like her.
Well, and then I said, what's important to you in your life? And she says, well, I'm a mom. I have 2 boys. My husband's a coach. They do baseball. I'm taking over the team of someone who is terminally ill, and I'm afraid that if I take it over, I'm not going to be able to delegate. And my response to that was, oh my gosh, I mean, like when you go into surgery, what if your doctor felt that way? I mean, the doctor already believes he's the smartest person in the room, or she is. Wouldn't you agree with that? Yep. But what if they had to run the anesthesia and they had to be their own charge nurse and they had to be the one that changed the bedpan and they had to be the one that turned the lights on and off and made sure you had all your instruments? What if your doctor felt like, I can't delegate because I'm the smartest person in the room? Would you want to go into that surgery?
No.
Right. And so I said to her, you know, what if that was the case? She says, oh, I didn't look at it that way. I'm like, what if the owner of the grocery store felt like they couldn't delegate? There would be no checkers or stockers. You'd have to open the store and do everything yourself. You know, I think that we have this weird thing in real estate, and this is just me, but I don't believe that I'm that important in the transaction. I think that people buy and sell real estate regardless of whether or not I'm involved in it. And so what I have to do is I have to create an environment that allows them to do what's best for their family and their move, and it doesn't require me to do all of the tasks. The other thing, Cleve, and you run a great team. I mean, I've watched you build your team and I watch the interaction, but when you think about it, do your team members live a better life because they're part of a group instead of doing it their own?
Absolutely, 100%.
But why?
They have more balance. They have people who have their back. They have people who can fill in for them when they want to go away and do something else. They have easy access to answers to questions that might cause a normal person to stumble. I mean, I could keep going for the rest of the. You want me to give you the remaining hours worth?
Yeah.
I mean, lots of reasons.
And so Shay, think about this. So when you're good at something and you're really good at it, is it possible that you're going to have more opportunities to do it?
I would think so, because it shows that you're becoming more of like an expert at what you're good at. So more opportunities.
Right. And so when you're good at real estate, what happens is people tell everybody how good you are, and that creates more opportunities and more business. And so now you get to a point where your business grows to a point where you have to start making hard choices. And every time you say yes to one thing, you have to say no to something else. So when you say yes to going out and showing a client, or yes to meeting an inspector, you're saying no to going to one of your kids' ball games. Or you go to the game, but you're on the phone the whole time. You are there, but you're not really present. And so what team allows you to do, it allows you to be present in the lives of the people that matter most, and provide a higher level of service to your clients. So for me, I just think that the world functions and lives in teams, but in real estate, we've had this weird belief of our value that nobody can do it as good as me. And the reality is, as good as you are, you're not that great. And there's lots of people that can do it as good as you. You just have to be willing to train them. Cleve, do you think, everybody you hired just got it? You just hired them and they came in and did it as good as you? Is that how it works?
No, and especially, by the way, early on, when I felt like what I was delivering to the world as a team leader was so unique that nobody could come in behind me and duplicate that. I will tell you that my training and onboarding was awful, because, if there's no chance on earth of them being as good as, me, then how in the world would I develop it? And by the way, it is such a common entrepreneurial problem. It's not just in real estate, Burl. It's all over the place with people who are willing to take a risk and work in a business that has just as much chance of failing as succeeding. I mean, people are kind of crazy. And so those are entrepreneurs. And what happens is it never dawns on them that there are many, many people out there who can do what they do better than they do it if they're trained properly. And man, once they open their eyes and understand, man, if I pour into my people the way I pour into my clients, if I pour into my team the way I pour into a client today, they're going to be absolutely amazing and successful. And it really changes the world for an entrepreneur and a team leader. It really does.
It's interesting. There's a lot of brokers, and this, we talked about building teams in a brokerage as the title of this webinar. And I think that matter of fact, I'd love you to put in the chat box, are you a broker owner, or are you a team leader, or are you a team member? Like, I would love to know who's on the call. So tell me who you are. I want to make sure that we cater the content and the information to you. But I want to start with brokers for a minute, Cleve, because there's this big misconception with broker. Well, it's not a misconception. The reality is the margins that the brokers used to have moved to the team leader. And so brokers that used to do 50-50 splits and have all these different great programs where they could be wildly profitable, all of a sudden teams happened, and teams, they want the broker to pay them for the privilege of having their greatness there, and the margins have all gone to the team leader. And so brokers don't know how to work in that dynamic, and so the relationship is out of balance. You use that a lot. Tell me about how does a broker get the relationship back in balance? How do we help them with that?
So generally, the problem is that a broker worries about their finances and a team leader worries about his or her finances. And if a team leader just spent a minute and worried about the broker's finances, and if the broker spent a minute and worried about the team leader's finances, everything would work fine. And so there are many, many ways to skin a cat. If you're in a flat fee brokerage, or if you're in a split brokerage, or if you're in a whatever it might be, there are many ways to skin the cat, and you have to get creative and look at it and say, how do I make something that works for Verl if you're a team leader in my brokerage, and something that works for me as well? Because as you produce more, I should be able to make more, especially if I'm helping contribute to your team as a brokerage. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on, how you can help recruit to teams. And that's the biggest significant benefit that brokers give team leaders, is helping with that recruiting and filling that pipeline.
And so why do people leave? Why do team leaders leave brokers? Why do team members leave team leaders?
I mean, in most cases, Verl, it's probably because they say that the money is not right, but the reality is there's no balance in the relationship. A brokerage, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but let me give you four walls, let me give you the structure, and let you go out and do your own thing from a business standpoint. But the reality is, if you and I are in business together and you're a team leader in my brokerage, if I pour into you and your team and help you develop and grow and deal with all the struggles that come with business and life, the odds are you're not going to leave. So in most cases, people leave because the broker is really not involved or interested in that particular business.
Yeah, you use the word that the relationship is out of balance. That the relationship is out of balance. To me, what that means is that I believe that what I'm paying, there's not enough value in that. And brokers oftentimes feel like they're not receiving enough to be able to give additional services. And so the relationship's out of balance. When I work with team leaders, I tell them that their job is to make sure that they're profitable, and so is their broker, so they don't have to do their job. I want you to focus on building your team and let the broker focus on what their expertise in building a brokerage, but they have to run a profitable entity. And there's balance in you can create balance in that relationship. It doesn't have to be so black and white. A lot of times brokers don't know how to talk to teams, and they don't know the key things to focus on. And so I'd like to give everybody some key numbers. And this works for you if you're a team leader, and this works for you if you're a team member. And then Cleve,
before you give this, like if you're on, please write these numbers down. because when you hear them, you're going to think to yourself, there's no way on earth that these numbers, something this simple, could be the key to growing a team. But if you'll make these numbers work and you'll master this, everything else falls in place. So if you were snoozing or whatever it is, wake up and write this stuff down. I'm sorry, bro, I had to say that because it sounds so simple that there's no way they could be true, but they are.
If anybody's snoozing, I'm going to ask Shay to say something because they'll wake right up. Shay, say something.
I got you.
You
Wake
got me?
up. Let's go. Rise and shine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So here's the thing. First of all, listings drive revenue. You can make a business as a buyer's agent, but listings drive revenue. And so for every listing that you generate, and so if I'm a broker owner and I want to support my team leaders better, I need to know these numbers. If I'm a team leader and I need to make sure I'm capitalizing on the opportunities that exist, I need to know these numbers. So here they go. For every listing you generate, you should generate 6 to 8 leads per month from that listing. If you're tracking and looking at your lead generation and you're not getting it, it's because you're not doing the activities that will generate that. And that's another discussion. But we can generate 6 to 8 leads per listing across the board. It just works if you understand that the reason we get listings is because it gives us permission to market. It opens all these marketing doors. The second thing to understand is for every listing that you generate, you should close 1.5 buy-side transactions. And so as a broker owner, when you look at your matrix for your numbers, if your agents are heavy on listings and you list, 50 houses and they only do 25 buy-sides, that means that you're generating leads and opportunities and they're not following up with them. And so if you list 50, you should have 75 closed buy-side transactions. If we train to that gap, and when we train the team or even a brokerage, we'll go into the brokerage, we'll look at their numbers, and if those numbers are out of whack, we don't spend any money on anything until we figure out why. So I've got to understand why we have a gap there, and then we train and develop and coach to the gap. And so 1.5 buy-sides for every listing. Now, you hear this all the time, Terry, don't you? You'll hear them say 50-50, 50% buyers, 50% listings. And as soon as they say that, I go, nope. Awesome. We're leaving money on the table. Let's find it.
And by the way, a lot of people, Verl, are proud of 80% listings and 20% buyers. I mean, I don't have time to work with buyers. I'm all listings, and they think they're doing something. And the reality is what they're doing is leaving, $500,000 in commission on the table because they're not running their business correctly.
Okay, so let's take that a step further and think about the conversation going on in the head of that agent. I'm 80% listings, 20% buyers. Nobody can do it as good as me. I can't delegate. And so what they're saying is, I'm going to generate leads off of my listings that are associated with my name. I'm going to choose to intentionally not follow up with them or give them any help or feedback or ask them how I can serve them because I don't have the time to work with them. And so nobody can do it as good as me is turning into, I'm going to go ahead and not do a good job with my clients because I don't have time to follow up with them. And I don't think they mean that, but the numbers speak louder than the intent.
And think about this. When you list a home as a listing broker, the public assumes you're not going to do much to try to really attract buyers, that the rest of the world's going to do it for you. Well, if you're an 80-20 and you're like, I don't have time for the buyers, well, I mean, that's the reason that people think that way. And so if you're going to list a house, man, try to sell the dang house. Try to find a buyer and sell them the house. And here's the cool thing. If you are on the webinar today and you have 8 listings or you have 6 listings or 2 listings, take that number and multiply it by 8 and write it on a piece of paper. So if I have 8, I need 64 leads a month coming in. I know you probably don't produce 64 leads a month. It's because you're not focused on how do I produce the 64 leads a month. So you start with what they should do, and then you figure out what you need to put in place in order to make the leads be generated. And one of the easiest things to do is to put something in place like call capture. We're not going to talk about that today, but you can produce 4 or 5 leads on every single listing if you have the right kind of call capture system.
I mean, if you just work your homes.com platform correctly. So think about this. When I list a home, I'm going to syndicate it. I'm going to make sure it's on the right platforms, and then I'm going to put all of the marketing around it. Just in one platform, I can generate those kinds of leads. But if you don't think about the strategy that goes behind it, then you miss out on the opportunity. Now, this is where everybody's going to go, oh, for every 25 leads you generate. So I'm going to use, Shay, like we've never had a conversation like this before where we're talking about teams. And so I'm going to use this example. If you have 10 listings, based on these numbers, you should be generating 60 to 80 leads a month. One agent can follow up with 25 leads a month. So for every 25 leads we generate per month, we add a buyer's agent. So if you have 10 active listings and you consistently keep that, how many buyer's agents do you need?
That was a lot of math, Burl. Honestly, can't really.
Well, not
Three.
quite 4, 3 to 4.
Need between 3 and 4.
I'll
So
help you, Shay.
between 3 and 4. That was not a trick question. I promise. It was not a trick question.
So, and Verl, can I interrupt? So if your goal is to produce 25 leads per buyer's agent per month, then 40 leads per buyer's agent per month has to be better, because that's what everybody thinks. That's the problem. So if you produce too many leads for a buyer's agent, they cannot do the appropriate follow-up. So the goal, maybe it's 25 or 27 or 29, but it's not any higher than 30. And so if every single month as a team leader, you started out and said, okay, I've got 4 agents, I got to get my 100 leads, and I got to make sure they're put in lead tracker, I'm telling you, your life and your business would change. And it's something so simple. And I'm glad you're going into the lead tracker, because in my opinion, this is the holy grail. This is the holy grail for making the business work correctly.
And this is the one place that most agents fall down, because they think they want leads, but they never take care of processing and incubating the leads that they get in a way that you're about to discuss.
Did you say most agents? I think you used the wrong word. I think
Time
the
to
word
time.
should be all. If everybody falls short here, and Shay, you get it. I mean, homes.com
Yes.
produces a ton of leads, and if people would just keep track and follow up, there is business in any lead.
Yes, I would just want to put one thing out there. The average response time for an agent getting back to a consumer is like 8 hours.
Yeah,
The reason
That's
is
crazy.
they don't have the bandwidth.
right.
They don't
It's
have the
not-
system either.
Right. Well,
And
well,
trust-
part of it
and
is that,
trust-
like, if you ask them, they'll tell you they're better at lead conversion than anybody.
Oh yeah, I'm the best. Or all from referrals. But here's the deal. And the consumer who goes online and registers on your website or does a call capture system or whatever, they're not going to wait on you 1 second past when they're ready to move on. If they need something, they want it right now and they want to move on. So it's those who act quickly that wind up getting the business.
So by understanding your numbers, so I want you to go back to the previous slide where I said, okay, so if you understand your numbers, every
Yep.
listing generates 6 to 8 leads. For
Yep.
every listing that you close, you should close 1.5 buy-side transactions. For every 25 leads, we add another buyer's agent. When you understand those numbers and you have more listings than you have leads, and more leads than you have people to work them, then you have to make the conscientious decision. Do I want to provide amazing client experiences, or do I want to scale back and make my life so that I don't live with guilt? And it's okay. There's like, nobody should tell anybody else what kind of business they should run. Like,
Right.
It's okay if you want to be an individual agent. It's okay if you want to be a mega team. It's okay if you just want a little bit of help and want a virtual assistant. But you have to understand that the opportunities that are being lost by you not having the right structure in place are significant. And a lot of times we behave consistent with what we believe is possible. I used to think that making $100,000 a year was a real deal. My dad was a school teacher. And so I operated in my life and made decisions in my life and had conversations in my head that said, well, if I could just make more than my dad, I'll be a success. And so I remember when I made $100,000, I thought that the world was over and I should just stop, until I met people like Cleve, that if he's not making $100,000 a week, he has a problem with that. So,
Hey, listen, I have 4 daughters in college. I need the money.
it's true. It's true. So what we believe, what we base all of our activities and all of our actions based on our life experiences.
Right.
And so now that I'm surrounded by all of these amazing individuals, and I'm telling you that the only difference between somebody making $1 million a year in real estate and someone who's making 40,000 or 50,000 it's very rarely has anything to do with the quality of the individual. The difference is the activities they focus on in their day and the awareness they have of what's going on in their business. And so I've got average people making 7 figures, and I have exceptional people that listen to the BS that's going on in their head, and they don't make any money at all, but they're really smart about why they don't make money, and they can give you every excuse. So I just want to know, I don't know, there's 150 people on this call. It's a great group. Like, is there anybody, I'm curious, is there anybody on the call that's ready to get out of their own head and like figure out how to go from wherever they are to 10 times that number? Like how do you get there? Like if you like somebody asked me who I coach the hungry. Like I want someone who comes up to me and says, Coach, I'm hungry, put me in, show me what to do, I'll do it. Like if I have to drag them along, kicking and screaming and trying to talk them into stuff, then like the energy is it's too much work. I can share everything with you, but you have to have this fire. So we're going to go from understanding the numbers to how. Like how do you do it? So let me teach you how. So we use a Google Drive lead tracker. Now there's amazing systems out there to lead generate and lead incubate. Homes.com is a great lead generation platform, and it has phenomenal tools for lead incubation, for keeping them engaged until the life event that occurs that makes them want to buy or sell. I want every lead that comes into your business to go into your Google Drive lead tracker on first contact, because it gets you to think about the lead differently. I want to know the lead date, the date that it came in. I want to know the first contact time. I want to know what the lead source was, so that I can pull this report. And this report, Cleve, I'm going to ask you, when you look at this report, how do you view it with your agents and your team? What's your, like, how do you look at it?
So I'm looking at it for lead flow and to create awareness. So, okay, Verl, if you have 25 leads coming in, we expect you to meet face-to-face with 5 of those leads. Of those 5, we expect you to close 1 to 2 of those. And being able to work through that process and help people be aware of where they are, and it makes all the difference in the world. Now, for us, we produce leads at a higher volume, so we are doing most of our follow-up in our CRM, but 100% of all leads go in the lead tracker first. Then we've got column N in the lead tracker, which shows whether or not we put them in the CRM, and then boom, over there they go, which is cool, because I can pull up something and say, hey, that Joe Smith, Burrow, you got a lead here, and I can follow it over to your CRM, and I can see what you're doing from a follow-up standpoint. Because if, as a team leader, I can get you as a team member to do the right things and just call. It doesn't matter if you know what to say or not. Just call and say, hey, I'm calling because I don't want to drop the ball. If you'll just call at regular intervals, you will convert.
So number 1 is when you start tracking, you'll start converting at a higher level. Like I wish I could give you like this, the magic pill, the secret sauce. Like, let me find it. Here it is. Track every lead that comes in, and like look at it every day and ask yourself, did I do everything I could do to follow up? Did I call, email, text? If the answer is no, then tomorrow do a little bit better. But just because you start tracking it, your conversions will go up. Okay. So sometimes I get a little bit worked up. Now, this is not supposed to be new. Oh, look at that. Oh, it went to a lead tracker. Look at that. I didn't know it was going to do that. That's kind of cool. So Cleve, this is what Cleve was talking about. So Cleve actually was talking about this, like looking at the lead tracker and then seeing where it came from and then whether or not it got added to the CRM. There's column N. And I think, are we going to give everybody a copy of this lead tracker? Is that?
It's not in there, but I can make a note and we can send it out. But I will, anybody that's going to get it, they have to go get the other downloads today, because we have to be able to send it out all at the same time.
Yeah.
So lead tracker.
Whew. Okay. Let's see. How do I go back to the deck? Let me try going here. Oh, look at that. There it is. So cool. Huh. Okay. So we're tracking leads. The next thing we're going to track is we're going to track the activities that get your results. Now, this is a big deal for me. So people spend so much time and so much energy looking for ways to create a bigger business or to do things. And the reality is that no one's going to give it to you. You have to go out and get it. You know, you'll hear me say this, I'll say it 1,000 times, is we don't create any new business. All we do is take other people's. Now that doesn't sound very nice, does it, Terry? You're such a sweet person. But if I grow my market share, what happens to somebody else's?
Yeah, well, that's looking at the pie being scarcity, right? Mine would get smaller.
Well, someone's, not you, I would never go after your business. I love you. But in the general scheme of the number of transactions that happen in your market, a certain number is going to happen all the time, whether you sell any or not.
Exactly.
And so if you lean into that and you start getting market share, other people will lose some market share. Even though you're not going after theirs, it's just the reality of the business. And so I can't control what other people do. What I can control is what I focus on. And so we created the Daily Success Habits Tracker. One of my favorite authors wrote the book, The Greatest Salesman in the World, Og Mandino. Look at this. I have my copy right here. Shay, where's yours, Shay? Look, everyone's got theirs. You don't have yours?
Wait, what? No, I don't have it.
What? All right. This call is taking a whole new. So
Wait a
Og
second.
Mandino wrote the greatest book called The Greatest Salesman in the World. And it's a journey of a young man who wants to go out and become a great salesman. And he reaches out to a mentor. And the mentor gives him 10 scrolls. And these 10 scrolls are really life principles. And in the very first scroll, he says, today I begin a new life. Today I shed my old skin, which has long suffered the bruises of failure and the wounds of mediocrity. Today I'm born anew, and my birthplace is a vineyard where there's fruit for all. And what Og is saying is, he's saying, you know what? What if you could have a do-over? What if you could start today fresh, and you could leave all of your excuses, all of your mediocrity, all of your whining behind, and just start fresh? How cool would that be? Anybody want a do-over? Like, like my hands up on this. I'd like to take everything I know right now and like avoid all the mistakes that I've made in the past and just start fresh. Okay, and then he says on the second page of that same scroll, he says, the difference between those who succeeded and those who failed lies in their habits. Good habits open the door to success. Bad habits unlock the door to failure. So the first law I will follow is I will form good habits and become their slave. And I'm gonna let Cleve take us through the daily success habits tracker, but Cleve, everybody is a creature of habits. Yep. Is it possible that some of our current habits could be replaced with better ones?
100% of the time. And let's just take real estate out of it. Let's just talk about in being a husband or a wife or a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever it might be. Regardless of who we are, in whatever relationships we have, there is always room for improvements. And it is those little activities on a daily basis that add up. Hey, real quickly, we've got a couple of questions. In the age of COVID-19, how do you address the face-to-face contact? And the truth is we're teaching all of our clients to do almost everything that you would do face-to-face, do it in a virtual world. It is amazing. If you have Zoom and you have a little know-how and access to the MLS, you can do a home preview or tour just almost as well as if you were there. And then we have a concern from Barb, who says, hey, it sounds like you have to have substantial reserves to do all this lead generation. And I just want to make it clear that we don't teach people under any circumstances to go into debt to generate leads. And the truth is, Barb, is that if you had someone understand that they have to produce 25 leads a month, or you and as a team leader, you and the agent need to produce 25 leads a month, there's open houses, call capture systems, there's all kinds of things you can do to generate leads for free. It doesn't mean you have to pay for them, but you do have to generate them nonetheless. So let me just give go ahead. Sorry, Burl.
Well, I was just going to say that in today's RISMedia article, the electronic e-news, there's actually an article on becoming a master of virtual real estate, and you can download the whole master of virtual real estate link that we use with all of our coaching clients. And so, you brought the question of how do we deal virtually? We put a system behind it. Anything you do 3 times, we create a system. So are we doing virtual real estate more than once? The answer is yeah.
Right.
So we do a system.
And it's such a time saver. I wish we had time to go into that today. Most people, Verl, going back to the DSH tracker, Daily Success Habits, most people judge themselves after it's too late to do anything about it. So did you have a good year last year? No, I didn't. Well, why not? Well, I only sold 5 houses. Well, at that point, it's a waste of time to even think about it. It's done. It's over. You cannot fix it. All you can do is make yourself feel badly about it. And so I learned early on from my coach back in 2011, whose initials are VW, kind of like Volkswagen, but Verl Workman. So I hired Verl as a coach in 2011. And what Verl would say was, it's the activities you do today that lead to the results. And see, I can control my activities, but I can't always control the results. And sometimes people start to use the DSH tracker for a team, and it causes so much grief, and everybody's so anxious and nervous. You cannot make your team members feel, you cannot make them feel accountable, but you have to make them aware. So if you think that a team member needs to get 305 points a week, which is 61 points a day times 5 days, then you can't let any more than 7 days go past without letting them know how many points they had. So if you as a team leader will just take it as a mission to say, hey, Verl, last week you had 265. Verl, last week you had 180. Verl, last week you had 350. If you'll create that level of awareness, they will make those numbers climb. And as a result, they will start to produce more business. And it's almost funny. It's almost like hocus pocus. Hey, look over here, look over here, look over here. And then wham, here's the result over here. It's almost like you're fooling your team members into just do these things and it'll all work out. And the truth is, that you don't have to be that great in real estate in order to get a client. So if you talk to enough of them, even if you were really not very competent, somebody would eventually feel sorry for you and want to buy a house for you. So keep calling, keep calling.
So
It's
Cleve,
true.
explain it. How does the daily success habit tracker work? What is it? Because we're
I'm
giving
so
this to
sorry.
everybody.
So the daily success habits tracker assigns a certain point value to each one of the activities that an agent needs to do in order to generate income. So it gives 1 point for calls, whether you talk to them or not, 1 point for emails and text messages, 2 points for handwritten notes, 10 points for showing 2 homes to 1 client, and right down the list. And it allows an agent at the end of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to judge whether or not they had a successful day today based on the number of points they got, because they're shooting for 61 points a day.
Thank you. And does it really work?
Big time, big time, big time. My coaching clients and on my team, we never let 7 days go past without talking about the number of DSH points that everybody on the team has, period.
You know,
And if
I
it's a
like
bad week, no problem. Next week will be better.
I like to share wins and victories. Mike, it was funny because I interviewed another Marine today. Mike is a former Marine. And, you know, whenever I find someone who served our great country, I always thank them for their service. And my dad was a Marine, and we have that in common. And what I've learned about Marines is they execute. And so when Mike came to us, I remember him saying that I had sold, 55 houses in 2016. And in June of this year, he sold 55 houses. And so he's gone from his annual production to he's doing it in a month. And when you ask him what made the biggest difference for him, and he's a small broker owner and he runs his brokerage as a team, so he put margin back into the brokerage, and he's making more money than he's ever made, and he's literally has a life that is very different than he ever intentionally that he thought he could create. And so it's fun to see people implement the systems to get the results that we talk about. And so whether you're an agent or whether you're a broker owner, let's review. You have to inspect what you expect. You have to understand that creating leverage is not a negative thing. It's finding people who are experts in that area of the business and allowing them to do what they love, so you don't have to do it all. And then becoming aware by tracking the things that matter. You track the leads, and then you look at where the lead sources are. My rule of thumb on a lead source is I want to get 6x. So if I spend $1,000 on something, I want a $6,000 return. And if I'm tracking it and I can't get it, then I go to figure out why. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means that I have to do things differently to get that result.
Yep. Hey, Verl, we got a quick question on the DSH. CJ wants to know, what is 1MT? And you have to give that answer because that's your forte.
So 1MT. You have to say both of them. You just can't just do one of them. CJ, it's 1MT. It stands for one more thing, one more time. And just because we don't have a lot of time, I'll just tell you that when you're done prospecting, when you're done doing your open house, when you're done knocking doors, when you're done calling your sphere, and you're ready to hang it up, make one more call. One more time, knock on one more door, one more time, hold it open one more hour, one more time. The idea is when everybody else quits, it's oftentimes in that 1MT phase of things that the magic happens. It's when you're frustrated and tired and you don't want to do anymore and you do just one more. That's the call that converts. And, unfortunately, I learned that as a missionary knocking on doors in Manchester, England. And we were all tired. It was raining and we could hear our shoes sloshing in the rain, and we were tired, and it was time to go home, and it was 10 minutes before quitting time. We said, you know what, I'm going to do it one more door, one more time. And that's usually when we found someone that wanted to hear our message. So 1MT is one more thing, one more time. And thanks for asking about that. You'll find more about that.
Hey, Verl, I want to mention something that maybe will help people think through. As a team leader or business owner, as you dig more into the details, what happens is your level of frustration and anxiety goes through the roof. So the more you dig into it, the more you realize that you've been saying ABC and all of your team members evidently hear XYZ, which you don't quite understand how that happens. And so I want to give you 3 things to focus on and write these things down. This helps entrepreneurs deal with people. So if you're looking into lead flow and conversion, and you start digging into the details, you must keep your conversations for improvement around 3 areas and only 3 areas. It is what your agent says, does, or shows. That's it. So if their conversion is not right, first focus on what they're saying. Like, okay, stop being ugly, or actually call them and use your words, use your grown-up voice on the phone. Then it's what they're showing. So what are they demonstrating? What tools are they using? If you're on a Zoom, what are you showing? Does that make sense? So it's what they're doing, showing, or saying. And just focus on those areas. And if you focus long enough, you don't even have to be the expert who will find the problem. They will find the problem themselves if you keep focusing on doing, showing, and saying.
Yeah, and today choosing the right words are ever more important than they ever were before, because otherwise you sound just like any other agent. We had a client this morning on that exact thing. So wordsmithing, what you're showing, how you're saying it. And you know, Cleve did a tremendous job on saying things differently and showing the positives in a COVID market. It's been remarkable how that shift in verbiage has changed production.
So I want to switch back to
like life changing.
So I'm sorry, Verl, the question about how do we switch in the age of COVID-19? So here's the way it works. If you want somebody to do a virtual showing, I say, hey, Verl, I know you want to get out and take a look at properties, but what we've been doing lately that's really effective for our people is we've been doing as if we were actually there tours. We can do it virtually, and it's as if you and I are actually there. I don't know if you have a few minutes now. Would you like to jump on a Zoom and I can show you the inside of those properties as if we were actually there?
Yes, sir.
So it's called an as if we're actually there showing, not a virtual showing. And when you say and you use that proprietary language, people are like, well, dang, I want that. I want to actually be there without going there. I'd like to be there. So let's do that. And so you can come up with all kinds of cool language to move stuff forward in today's market. You just got to think about it a minute, and you got to offer them something that other people aren't offering. Even if everybody offers the same thing, you got to refer to it differently.
Bingo.
Yeah, I mean, we should probably do a master virtual real estate for the RISMedia audience, just because there's so much content and things that we can do. Those that are leaning into the clients and into the issues and into their communities are having better months today than they were having in January and February before COVID became such a nightmare. And so, and the difference isn't what's going on in your market. It has nothing to do with testing. It has to do with your behavior. And we want everyone to stay safe. And so there's a safe way to transact. People need to move anyway.
So imagine the segue for Shaylin when people call that are qualified within a minute and they get to see that property and you're sharing a screen, so you're capturing lots of information. So a good connect right there, Shay.
So I bring this picture up.
Absolutely, I agree.
Thank you, Shay. So I bring this picture up because this is the only guy that can make me look good. Like anybody I'm next to, when I'm next to Gollum, like Workman's handsome. We all remember the Lord of the Rings and the whole series of the Hobbit. And, I remember going through watching the transition of this Hobbit who held on to his ring so tightly it eventually destroyed him. And I wonder, as we talk about teams, whether you're a broker owner, a team leader, or a team member, what are the things that you're holding on to so tightly that eventually destroy you? Is that the processing of transactions? Is it to buyers? Is it the fact that you can't delegate anything because you have to do it all yourself? Those are the very things, my precious, that I have to hold on to. I can't have it. It's mine. That if you're having that dialogue in your head, look at this guy and ask yourself if this is where you want to end up, ugly and alone. Because if you don't learn to delegate, you don't learn to serve others, and you don't learn to share the amazing things that make you great with other people, then it's gonna be kind of a sad way to live. So I just, being a great team leader isn't about selling more houses. It's about business development and people development. And imagine if I told you you could get everything you want in life. All you have to do is help a few people on your team get everything they want of their lives, and then create the right structure and the right compensation so that there's balance in the relationship. So the way that our team leaders absolutely dominate in their marketplaces is we teach them how to lead by developing other people. The reason we have a hard time hiring people is because everything we do so well, it's in our head and it's in our heart. We haven't created a system for it. So when you hire a buyer's agent, they don't really know what to do because you don't have a system to train. Or when you hire an assistant, who has assistant training? No one. I do, but most people don't have training for assistants. And so they hire an assistant, and then the assistant comes on, and you're out running around doing real estate, and you can't figure out why they don't think the way you think. Well, you're brilliant, and it's all in your head. So we got to get out of your head, and we got to create a system around it. So teams fail for a lot of reasons, Cleve. We talk about this a lot.
Yep, absolutely. And really, so it's interesting if you go back to my precious, the ring. If I could give anybody advice that what you have to share and what you're holding on to so tightly that causes all your problems is credit. meaning you need to share the credit with everybody. Even if they don't deserve to get some credit, if they're moving in the right direction, you need to learn to share that. And when you look at it, Burl, if you'll go to the 5 dysfunctions of a team, the absence of trust is caused by people not being open and vulnerable. And the reality is the day I learned and the day my best team leaders learned that the business is about something much bigger than them, way bigger than them, then everything changes. Everything changes.
And it changes in a way that is like, it's so meaningful. It's when you look back at it, you're like, I can't believe I ever did it that way. Having a team, to me, like, I have a business, and in our business we have coaches. I have a staff of 30. We've got people all over the country. And like, for years, it was me. I mean, if I went out, it was me. I had a partner. The two of us, we went out there, we did everything, and there was no scale in it. And as good as we were, we could never grow to the point where we could impact the number of lives that we impact today. And now when I look at the number of families that are served by the clients we coach, it's humbling. And, in my quiet moments with my wife, we say things like, just don't screw this up, because you have amazing people doing amazing things, and you've been in a place where you have to lead them. And so I love Patrick Lencioni's book, and this is a great guidebook for building teams. It's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. If you don't have a copy of it, I think it's 20-something bucks. It's worth the buy, because he not only talks about each of the dysfunctions, but he talks about how to eliminate them. And as I work with someone, whether it's Cleve or Terry or anybody, I'm always looking at where's the dysfunction and how do we eliminate it. If someone's not, so let's use, for example, we introduced a concept called the Daily Success Habits Tracker. And when you're building a team, I believe you should create a culture of productivity. Every team has a culture. I've met some teams with amazing culture that are broke, and I've met some people that have a really high level of production, but their culture has high turnover because the leaders don't love their people, they don't pour into them. And so I look at the 5 dysfunctions, and I want to know why. And so if someone says, I'm gonna do my daily success habits, but they don't do it, where's the dysfunction?
Accountability.
Avoidance of accountability. How about absence of trust? If I give you my word, I'm going to do something, I don't do it, then do you trust me?
But let me tell you something, sometimes it comes from a different place. So because you're afraid of how the team leader is going to react, you won't tell the team leader the truth. So sometimes the team leader is causing this absence of trust. You need to accept people for who they are. It doesn't mean if they can't make it work, they should stay on your team, but you have to celebrate their humanness and all their vulnerabilities and their flaws, because we have them too.
Right. And if we really look under the covers, we have significant flaws and vulnerabilities. For me anyway, I have lots. Like the things that I celebrate that I do well are the things that cause everybody else stress in my company. And so the things that make us great are also our weaknesses. And so we have to find other people to help us there. So absence of trust, fear of conflict, lack of commitment to the lead source, lack of commitment to the client, lack of commitment to your family. I think about this concept. If you get up every day and you go to work and you don't do any activities that create new business, are you really committed to taking care of your family? You tell me you're working for your family, but you're not doing anything that makes any money. So you're pretend realtor doing fake work. Well, what if you went to work every day and you actually did dollar productive activities? You fill out your 61 points. All of a sudden, you would start creating an environment where it would be worth it to be away from your kids for a few hours. If you're not going to work, stay home and be with your kids. They don't need your money. They need you as parents. So Shay's like, wow, Verl, that's a little intense. Sorry, Shay.
I don't have any kids, so I wouldn't know yet.
You are one.
I guess so.
And so wouldn't you rather have your parents be present than just give you money?
No, I don't like that.
No?
I want the actual experience with my parents.
She wants some present.
I want some present.
Yeah, you don't care about the money.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Well, Verl, a lot of these people would like to do some of this stuff, but what they're really getting from you here is the process of setting up the team so that it is successful and it's measurable, and they're motivated to stay because you're growing the business. So in this slide particularly, you're talking about giving that job description, which is really makes everybody clear about what they're supposed to do to be part of the team. Would that be correct?
So we not only clearly define roles and responsibilities for every position, but you have a compensation structure that has to allow you to be profitable. And Cleve, you've helped me a lot in my thought process on profitability. Talk through why we pay a buyer's agent 40-60 and not 50-50 or 60-40 or 70-30.
because the team and the structure in the business needs to be as committed to the agent's success as the agent is. So if I say, Burl, come on my team, I'll give you 90%, I'll keep 10%. I am not as committed to you being successful as I would be if it was 50-50 right down the middle. And so it doesn't work for everybody, and not everybody wants to be on a 50-50 split. But the reality is, if I as a team leader are as committed to your success as you are, you and I aren't gonna have any problem. So it makes everybody more committed. I'm more interested in a transaction where we're getting 50% and the buyer's agent's getting 50% than I am in one where I get 10 and they get 90.
That is absolutely
Human
true.
nature.
And the other thing is I need to be profitable so that I can provide the support that allows you to do what you love. And so if I can do lead generation, if I can invest in tools
Yep.
like homes.com, if I can have a transaction coordinator, so all you have to do is prospect, list or show houses, and negotiate contracts, and the time away from your family is spent doing those dollar productive activities, you're going to make a lot more money on a 40-60 split on my team than you will on 100% by yourself. And my goal with the team member is $100,000 a year. Like, I want you to make $100,000 a year, period, on this split.
Minimum across the board.
And so we have a process. We do, phone interviews, in-person interview questions, face-to-face and Zoom. We use disc motivators to track, to understand who people are so we can communicate better for them. These are a couple of interesting discs. Cleve, you're reading them. What do you see in these two?
Well, I see that the economic motivator in the team leader is just like mine, meaning there's no space between the blue bar and the end of the graph, which means it doesn't mean that person's motivated by money. It means they're motivated by result. That is a good team leader disc.
It is. And by the way, the square box is the norms. That's where most people fall in the norms. So when we're going through an interview process and we're hiring people for our team, we don't hire and fire to the disc motivators, but they become guides in helping us ask the right questions. If you look at a D, this is a high driver and a high interactor, someone who naturally is the life of the party. Whoops. Those are people that really enjoy being around people, and they're driven for results. When I hire an administrative assistant, if someone's natural tendency is to be in a supporting role and making sure everybody's cared for, they're going to be much better in a client care position. And then when I want an analytical, someone who's better at the details than me, I'm going to hire somebody with a high C. And so I don't hire them because they're opposite of me. I hire them because they're right for the role that I'm hiring for. Does that make sense? And we can do an hour just on the hiring process and finding talent and addressing the right people, but then you have to develop them. This is our simple training center that allows us to go in and develop people. And we just built a program called RAMP. It's Rising Agent Mastery, which is really cool. It's a 90-day program to increase your production on average by 2 transactions a month. So wherever you are, if you want to increase by 2 transactions a month, go through the RAMP program. We have a program for buyer agent mastery, listing agents, obviously, all of those different things. We're running out of time, so I want to just share this with you, and that is the way that we think strategically is how we get crap done. This is called agile project management. And so with a team leader, with a broker owner, we would help them make a project backlog of all the things they want to focus on, and then we give each project a number, and then we sort it highest to lowest. So you can't have two projects that are the same. The reason that our teams have the success they have is because we help them see priorities and execute on those priorities. And if you're struggling like me, a severe attention deficit, I go 1,000,000 miles an hour in 27 different directions, and everyone that works for me thinks I'm a spaz, right? When you start putting all your ideas on the agile and they go, is it more important than that? And I have to look at it and say, no, it's not. It keeps consistency and clarity on our goals. And then when I take something off of the backlog and I say, now it's time to go, we create a sprint for it. And then this is what it looks like. When you have a team leader that's executing, this is what their sprints look like. They get crap done. And when they get crap done, they get real results. By the way, this is whose team? I don't even know whose team this is. This is a transaction tracker. Oh, this is Brooke's team showing the result that she's getting. Are core values important to any of your teams that you coach, Cleve?
Absolutely. You got to have your core values, and you got to promote them and preach them, and you've got to test them. In other words, make sure everybody understands what they mean, because in a lot of cases, what they think your core values mean and what you do are 2 different things.
We've run out of time. We've talked so much on this call today. If you have a question, what I encourage you to do is send an email to coach@verlworkman.com or coach@workmansuccess.com. coach@workmansuccess.com. We'll answer any question that you have. But more importantly, we promise that we give you a few things. So I'm going to give you a few things. The first one we're going to give you is we're going to give you a copy of this presentation, like all the stuff that I skipped over really quick because I didn't have time to talk about it. You're going to get all that. We're also going to get a copy of the transaction tracker, where we track our transactions. It gives us all the results. I didn't get into a lot of details on that. Cleve, because it's who he is, also gave away the lead tracker. And so we're going to give you a copy of the lead tracker and DSH. Why don't we give him a daily success? Like, for those of you that are on this call, do you want everything? I'll just give it to you. If you want it, I'll give it to you. Like, I don't care. I just want to help you. If I can help you right now, then, and you'll use it, I'll give it to you. So if you want the daily success habits tracker, give it to them. Let's just give it to them. These are all tools that we use in coaching relationships to help our clients grow. And if you'll use it, I'll give it to you. And so go to workmansuccess.com/RIS team, and you can download all of that. And I'm going to give you a webinar that I think that you all ought to go look at. And this webinar is called Building Your Roles and Responsibilities by two of our rockstar administrative assistants. And it's a webinar we did just a week ago. I'd like you to go watch that because it talks about how to really structure the back office of how a team runs well. And so I would love you to be able to get that and be able to use it. And Mike, thanks for that. Mike says that the virtual showing stuff that we delivered was great. Final thoughts from Shay. Thoughts about teams? Anything that came to your mind that you think we should have addressed that we haven't?
I just would want to reiterate, like, personality and being able to connect with people is key, and definitely being trustworthy. Like, I love my sales team, and the reason why is because we can be honest and open with each other. So it just helps build that, like, relationship with your team. And I personally do better at my job with having a better relationship with my team. So I just think that's really important.
I'm glad that you picked up on that. That's probably the most important thing, is the love and care we have for the people that we serve. And it's not our clients, it's our team. Cleve?
I just want to thank.
Oh, go ahead. I'm so sorry, Terry.
No, I just wanted to thank Shay for being here, and I just wanted you to give us the process of getting in touch with you in case someone wants to look at Lead Connect and the other program.
Yes.
Yep.
So you can text check zips, like check and then ZIPS, at 484848. Someone will respond to that text message and they will get you in touch with a representative.
It's really
Real
important
quick,
that we
Earl,
get
go
in.
back one slide. Go back one quick slide. So the webinar, I have been looking for that webinar. I've been looking for it for a week, and I couldn't figure out how to find it. I have gotten the greatest feedback on that. I can't believe you're actually giving away free access to people who are not clients. So I'm going to go there and get it myself because I couldn't find it any other place.
There
All
you
right.
go.
So final thoughts, Terry. Let's wrap this up. And thank you everybody for being here. What a fun webinar. What a pleasure to be here. I appreciate being on this side of the interview instead of on the other side.
Yes, that's right. Well, but here's always the gift from RISMedia, is that everything that you get works. Like we say, it's progress, not perfection, but everything works, nothing doesn't. So it's about looking and changing how we do our business. And when you're looking to people who are making it happen, everybody wins. So I want to thank our sponsor, Homes.com, the expertise of Cleve Gaddis, Master Coach for All Workmen, CEO of Workman Success. Get out there and make your life better by design, not by default. Use some of the systems that work here, and join us again for another RISMedia webinar coming up next month. Thanks for joining us.